On our 6th anniversary, Daniel Hayes's idealized first love gave me 3 gifts: her marriage certificate with Daniel Hayes, her son's paternity test report with Daniel Hayes, and the stark reality that after 6 years of living together, I still hadn't received a wedding ring from Daniel Hayes. At that moment, I finally gave up hope. I called Eleanor. "Mom, I want to come home." Eleanor was overjoyed. "Good, Grace. The women in our family never rely on men. Come home soon. Everything our family has is yours." After I hung up the phone, Daniel Hayes's impatient shout came from the doorway. "Grace, are you done with this nonsense? How long are you going to keep acting out?" He pushed the door open loudly, instantly waking our daughter who had just fallen asleep. Daniel Hayes, who once cherished our daughter and me as the apples of his eye, was now only focused on arguing with me. Willow Hayes's son wasn't feeling well today, and I merely took them to the hospital. Do you have to be so relentless about it? Do you have any idea how hard it is for Willow Hayes to raise a child on her own? Today was Daniel Hayes's and my 6th anniversary. Back when we first got together, Daniel Hayes was a penniless nobody. His family wanted everything to be simple, and Daniel Hayes had sworn to me that once he had money, he would give me a proper wedding. But later, when he actually had money, he started insisting, "We're an old married couple anyway, and we even have a child. Why bother with all those unnecessary tricks?" So, for 6 whole years, we didn't even have a marriage certificate. We always considered the day we moved in together as our anniversary. In the past, no matter how busy he was, he would always come home to celebrate with our daughter and me. But ever since Willow Hayes returned, I hadn't seen him in days. I still clutched the paternity test report, barely managing to hold back bitter tears. I threw the report in front of him. Is he really just Willow Hayes' son? Daniel Hayes's expression froze for a moment, and he finally lost his nerve. You know everything?" I scoffed sarcastically, then threw out his and Willow Hayes's marriage certificate, and tears suddenly streamed down my face. "So, you forgot our anniversary because you were getting a marriage certificate with another woman?" Daniel Hayes instantly panicked, quickly crouching down and grabbing my hand. "Grace, listen to me. Let me explain. She and I were just an accident. I was on a business trip abroad and happened to run into Willow Hayes. We both drank too much that night, and Willow Hayes told me not to think anything of it. He never expected Willow Hayes to get pregnant and secretly give birth to the child, did he? The pain in my heart was like 1,000 needles pricking me densely. I instantly pulled my hand away. My voice hoarse, I asked, "So, what are you going to do?" Daniel Hayes's expression was conflicted for a moment before he tentatively said, "I'll still live with you and our daughter. Willow Hayes is very understanding. She won't mind any of this. She just wants a legitimate status." I instantly slapped him across the face. "Daniel Hayes, do you have any conscience? Do you remember what you told me when you took me to elope all those years ago? Our family has a tradition. Daughters never marry out, unless the man from outside is willing to join the family's legacy and way of life." But Daniel Hayes was unwilling to join the family, claiming he was an only son. In his family's tradition, for a man to join the wife's family was considered humiliation. He sweet-talked me into eloping with him. He swore to me that in this life, he would only love me, and that he would never break my heart. But now, after 6 years of our relationship, his love and patience had finally run out. Daniel Hayes's face grew cold, and he emphasized with a harsh tone, "I've been good enough to you, haven't I? Willow Hayes has depressio and wanted a child to keep her company. The child is also of school age, and she just wants to get him registered for school. He is my biological son, after all. I can't just leave him without proper documentation for school enrollment, can I?" Before I could respond, he collected the marriage certificate and paternity test report, complaining, "When did you become so unreasonable? Willow Hayes doesn't even care, so why are you making such a fuss? As expected, you're just not as understanding as Willow Hayes." Tears still streamed down my face, but I suddenly burst into laughter. I was numb with pain. I didn't even have the strength to argue. Was Willow Hayes's understanding referring to when my daughter had a fever of 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and Willow Hayes whined about her depression acting up and being afraid of the dark? Or was it a month ago, during the elevator accident in the apartment complex? She cried and rushed to Daniel Hayes, hugging her son who only had a minor scrape, yet she hid from him that my daughter and I were also trapped inside? Just like now, Daniel Hayes had been home for less than 10 minutes, and her phone call came in right on time. "Daniel, Leo is throwing a tantrum, insisting you tell him a bedtime story. I don't want to bother you, but he's so clingy, I really don't know what to do." Seeing Daniel Hayes get up to leave, I said bitterly to his retreating back. Let's get a divorce. Daniel Hayes scoffed without looking back. We don't even have a marriage certificate. What divorce? His last words made the 6 years I had held on to a complete joke. Yes, we didn't even have a marriage certificate, so naturally, we didn't need a divorce. That night, Daniel Hayes didn't come home. In a WhatsApp status Willow Hayes posted, the three of them were nestled by the headboard, looking warm and happy. The next day, I took Lily to buy plane tickets. As soon as we returned to the apartment complex, Daniel Hayes rushed out and grabbed my wrist in a fit of rage. Grace, did you do that? How could you be so vicious? Someone had thrown red paint on Willow Hayes's house. The words "the other woman" and "vixen" were blatantly scrawled on the walls and the front door. When Daniel Hayes dragged me there, all he saw was her with eyes swollen from crying, clutching her son and cowering in the corner, trembling. Quite a few neighbors had already gathered, pointing and whispering about the mother and son. She cried and rushed into Daniel Hayes's arms. Daniel, I wouldn't. I just wanted to live a good life with my son. Why would those people hurt me like this? Willow Hayes was the delicate and innocent type. I heard she and Daniel Hayes were college classmates. Back then, with her delicate appearance and gentle, flowing personality, she became the goddess and idealized first love in the hearts of many boys. Daniel Hayes was probably no exception. She gave me a meaningful glance, then, as if a startled rabbit, she shrank further into Daniel Hayes's arms. I just returned to the country, and I haven't offended anyone. Daniel Hayes thought the same, so he decisively turned his accusation on me. Grace, you put this red paint and these words here, didn't you? In his anger, he roughly pulled my wrist and threw me towards the stairwell steps. I was caught off guard, and my daughter next to me also crashed onto the tiled steps. My elbow and knee immediately got scraped, and blood flowed from my daughter's loudly crying mouth. I hissed in pain and quickly hugged and comforted my daughter, then heard Daniel Hayes's gritted teeth. I told you, it's not easy for Willow Hayes to raise a child alone. She has depression, do you know that? Do you have to kill her to be satisfied? In front of the many curious and gossiping neighbors, he pulled out the red marriage certificate from his embrace. Willow Hayes isn't the other woman. Do you see this? Willow Hayes and I are the legitimate couple. Because of the marriage certificate, everyone in the apartment complex now called me the other woman. The residents' group chat was abuzz with discussions. I always saw her coming and going with that man. I thought they were married. Whoever's name is on the marriage certificate is the original spouse. Otherwise, why would her child not be in school at this age? TSK. Could it be an illegitimate child lacking proper documentation for school enrollment? I certainly don't want my child going to school with an illegitimate child. Daniel Hayes naturally noticed the rumors in the residents' group chat. He didn't offer a single explanation or try to stop them. Instead, he sent me a text message to appease me. Once Willow Hayes and I finish the child's school registration, I'll divorce her. Don't worry, I won't forget what I promised you. Previously, because the child needed household registration and an ID for school, Daniel Hayes and I had agreed to get our marriage certificate. Daniel Hayes had always said he was busy, so he postponed it until the child started school. But I never expected that now, with school about to begin, he had already become another woman's husband. He also sent me a photo of a strawberry cake, showing off and taking credit. Look, I bought this strawberry cake for Lily. We missed our anniversary before, so let's celebrate it today. Don't worry, I'll definitely come home tonight to be with you and our daughter. All he said was just to prevent me from making a scene and exposing his affair with Willow Hayes. I thought he at least had some sincerity towards our daughter, but I never expected. A few minutes later, Willow Hayes posted a photo of a strawberry cake birthday celebration in her WhatsApp status, with the caption, "My darling is 3 years old. A child with a daddy to celebrate their birthday is truly blessed." That strawberry cake was extremely similar to the one in Daniel Hayes's hand. Looking closely at the photo Daniel Hayes sent, his strawberry cake clearly had cutting marks. So, the cake he claimed was specially for our daughter was actually leftovers from Willow Hayes's son's birthday cake. Just then, Willow Hayes's provocative text message suddenly arrived. "Grace, you're really patient, still clinging on and refusing to leave. Do you want to be the other woman, stuck between my husband and me?" In the text message, she completely shed her former gentle and kind demeanor, showering me with extreme humiliation and insults. Even though Daniel Hayes and I were together first, she called me the other woman, a vixen. Even though my daughter was born before her son, she called my daughter an illegitimate child who couldn't see the light of day. Finally, she smugly sent me a photo. In the picture, the three of them were gathered around a birthday cake with candles, and Daniel Hayes was lightly kissing her cheek. See? Daniel really loves me. He was just playing around with you. Otherwise, why didn't he get married to you all these years? If you're truly shameless and insist on bringing your illegitimate child to wedge yourself between us, it's fine, I can tolerate it. I just worry that you won't be able to handle Daniel's favoritism towards us in the future, and you'll slowly drive yourself to become a resentful clown. I didn't read the rest of the message. I turned off my phone and began packing my and my daughter's bags to go home. Daniel Hayes started his business from scratch, and while he had made some money these past few years, he had long planned to move to a bigger house. But due to Willow Hayes' sudden return, he secretly arranged a home for the mother and son in the apartment complex without my knowledge. He spent the budget for our new house, so we had no choice but to continue living in the cramped old house. The roses Daniel Hayes once gave me, which I had painstakingly made into dried flowers, I found and threw into the trash can. The commemorative album of our family of 3, which Daniel Hayes and I had carefully created with our daughter, I tore to shreds. Finally, with trembling hands, I took out a wooden box from the drawer. Inside was the straw ring Daniel Hayes had given me when he proposed. At that time, he had knelt before me, full of deep affection. Though the ring is made of straw, it represents my heart. Someday, when I achieve success, I'll give you an even more expensive and beautiful ring. Because of that promise, I waited 6 years, but I never expected the ring to be worn by another woman first. I placed the ring in a conspicuous spot, returning it to him. As I left with our luggage, I received another message from Daniel Hayes. Grace, Leo suddenly got a stomach ache. Wait for me, I'll be back soon. Just like that, my daughter and I didn't even see Daniel Hayes one last time. He had gone to be with that woman again. Looking at the message on my phone, I sneered and deleted all his contact information. I held my daughter's hand and walked away, step by step, never looking back. My family is considered a prominent clan in our area. Due to a family tradition of recruiting men to join the family and its legacy, women have always led the household. When my daughter and I returned home, Agnes and Chloe had already heard the news and rushed back. As soon as they saw us enter, Agnes cried and rushed forward to embrace my child and me. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. Grace, you must have suffered a lot these past few years outside, you've gotten so thin. Seeing my daughter, Lily, Agnes paused, then was pleasantly surprised. This must be your child. How wonderful. Your Aunt Chloe still hasn't found a man. Our family finally has an heir. Chloe, standing nearby, rolled her eyes in dissatisfaction. Mom, we're talking about Grace. What does that have to do with me? Besides, when have the women in our family ever lacked men? Let's talk about it when a handsome man catches my eye and is willing to join our family's legacy and way of life. Eleanor remained seated in the center, silently watching my daughter and me. I wiped my tears and, with my daughter, respectfully walked forward to pay respects to her. After all these years, Eleanor still maintained that calm, dignified image of a strong, career-driven woman. Only when her gaze touched the tears on my face and my daughter's timid expression did her eyes tremble slightly. Finally, she sighed and asked, "Do you know why I didn't send anyone to pick you up?" I lowered my head. She continued, "All those years ago, you disregarded our ancestral teachings, abandoned the family, and eloped for that man. Now, I want you to walk back, step by step, the same path you once took to elope with him. Have you thought it all through now?" I finally couldn't control my emotions and knelt down at her feet with a thud. "Mom, I've thought it all through. You, Agnes, and Chloe are my family. I shouldn't have hurt you all for a man. Now I'm back, and I've made up my mind. From now on, that man and I are strangers." My daughter and I were settled in the family estate's guest wing. That night, Eleanor brought people to bring us things. She placed a family lucky locket around my daughter's neck, a rare smile on her face. "This is from Agnes and Chloe. To protect our Lily and keep her safe in the future. When your mother takes over the family, you will be the young mistress of our family." That night, Eleanor stayed to sleep with Lily and me. Unable to sleep in the middle of the night, I once again asked her the question I used to ask as a child. "Mom, why did you never talk about my father before?" Eleanor was silent for a moment, then replied faintly, "Are men really that important? The loves of youth are just words. Women should never stake their lives on a man's promises." Perhaps pitying my hardships, she sighed and stroked my head. "When you inherit the family, when you have money and power, responsibility, and accountability, you'll understand. The man you once considered your whole world is nothing special after all. Daniel Hayes didn't notice our departure for the 3 days after my daughter and I left. He was busy accompanying Willow Hayes' son in the hospital, busy creating surprises and romance for the mother and son. Daniel, I'm so sorry to trouble you with Leo's birthday. Actually, I never used to celebrate his birthday before. Every time, Leo would pester me, asking who his father was, and I found it hard to explain. It was just that day Leo saw the strawberry cake you bought for Lily and suddenly insisted on having some. In the hospital corridor, Willow Hayes falsely rubbed her hands together uneasily, then asked, Willow Hayes and Leo ate your cake that day. Miss Lou and Lily won't be angry, will they? Or, maybe I'll buy them another cake sometime to make it up to them? Only then did Daniel Hayes suddenly remember that he had promised to come home that night, but he hadn't shown up for 3 days. He mumbled an indistinct reply, it's fine, no need. Then he quickly pulled out his phone to send me a text message, only to discover that I had already blocked him. Daniel Hayes frowned, then heard Willow Hayes add fuel to the fire. Is Miss Lou angry with you? I knew it. It's all Leo's fault for being naughty and insisting on eating the cake. Was it even his cake? How could a child like him even deserve cake? Daniel Hayes came to his senses. Looking at the pale, young child lying on the hospital bed, he steeled himself. Don't worry, Leo is my child too. What I can give him is not just a legitimate status, but also my responsibility as a father, to the best of my ability. Perhaps remembering how he had pushed our daughter down the stairs in a fit of rage, leaving her mouth bleeding, Daniel Hayes frowned again, feeling increasingly unsettled. But our relationship can only go this far. I'll find another place for you and Leo to live, and Grace and I'll move as well. Daniel Hayes paused, then hardened his heart. The person I love now is Grace. Whatever happened between us in the past, it's over. Because of our affair, Grace has suffered so much. I promised I wouldn't hurt her, so. A flicker of resentful malice flashed in Willow Hayes' eyes, then she smiled indifferently. It's fine, we already agreed, didn't we? You married me just to get a household registration and ID for the child. I'll make sure you and Miss Lou get your happy ending. As long as Miss Lou is still willing to forgive you. That night, Daniel Hayes finally came home. But what awaited him was no longer a warm, happy home, but an empty old house. He stood at the door, calling my daughter and me several times. In the past, our chubby daughter would run to greet him, happily planting intimate kisses on his face, but now, in the silent house, there was no echo. Daniel Hayes suddenly panicked, rushing into the bedroom, finding no trace of my daughter or me. Instead, he saw that our clothes were gone. The dried flowers I had painstakingly made from the roses he gave me for Valentine's Day, symbolizing the preservation of our love and sweetness, and the straw ring I cherished as my life, both foreshadowed my disappointment and departure. Unable to accept the sudden blow, Daniel Hayes collapsed onto the floor. He frantically picked up his phone to call me, but then suddenly realized I had blocked him. With trembling hands, he urgently composed a WhatsApp message. Grace, where did you go? I'm back. I'm sorry, I've been too busy and forgot our plans with you and our daughter. I know I was wrong. Please come back, okay? In this home, I only have you and our daughter. You are my motivation and meaning for striving. What's the point of living if you're not here? But he kept deleting and rewriting the message for a long time. When he finally mustered the courage to send it, a red exclamation mark shattered everything. All strength drained F. Rom Daniel Hayes, and he collapsed onto the room's carpet, covering his eyes with his hand, his heart aching as if it had torn open. Willow Hayes rushed over after receiving Daniel Hayes' message. She tenderly stroked Daniel Hayes' head, apologizing in a strained voice. It's all my fault. If only I had taken better care of Leo and prevented him from getting sick and upset, you wouldn't have missed your plans with Miss Lou, and Miss Lou wouldn't have left in a huff. Saying this, she grabbed her son, who was crouching nearby, and slapped the child on the bottom. It's all your fault for being disobedient. Who told you to insist on eating that cake? You're never allowed to eat cake again. The child's heart-wrenching cries finally woke Daniel Hayes from his despondent thoughts. He held Willow Hayes' wrist and sighed helplessly. It's all right. It's not your fault. Grace is just acting out of pique. Once she calms down, I'll coax her, and she'll come back to me. That night, I received another provocative text message from Willow Hayes. I heard you left with your child. At least you have some self-awareness. But a woman like you, with a child whose father is unknown, where can you even go? Then, she sent me a photo, so pathetic. You still don't know why Daniel chose you, do you? She sent her university ID photo. In the picture, she was wearing a plain t-shirt, with a simple high ponytail, and her eyebrows bore some resemblance to mine. Then, she sent me photos of the love letters Daniel Hayes had written to her in the past. Daniel liked me, but couldn't wait for me to return to the country, so he found you as a substitute. You say, how much of a failure are you as a woman? You were a shadow for 6 years, working tirelessly, bearing Daniel Hayes's children, and what was the result? As soon as I came back, didn't you have to make way immediately? Perhaps in the past, these messages of hers could have provoked or hurt me, but now, I had inherited the fam. Eiley and the company from Eleanor, and I had almost forgotten about that man. Only now, looking at the photo she sent, I felt a vague sense of a trance, and vaguely recalled when Daniel Hayes and I first met. He said it was love at first sight, and I actually believed him. It turned out there was no such thing as unprovoked affection in this world, everything was a trap he had already set. Willow Hayes's provocation, instead of making me lose my composure and go crazy, actually gave me a wake-up call. She clearly looked down on Daniel Hayes when she went abroad to study. Even if they had a drunken mistake, given Willow Hayes's personality and manipulative tactics, she would absolutely not have had Daniel Hayes's child. Moreover, she disappeared for a few years afterward, only to suddenly seek out the child's father? There must be something fishy going on. So I sent people to investigate this lead, and I truly found out quite a lot. Willow Hayes's child was not Daniel Hayes's at all. After Willow Hayes went abroad, she hooked up with quite a few rich heirs. The reason she previously looked down on Daniel Hayes was that she thought he was a naive, penniless nobody. But ever since she met Daniel Hayes abroad and learned that he had started a company from scratch in our country, she decided to reel him in. I don't know if anything happened between Willow Hayes and Daniel Hayes, but I went to great lengths to find the father of Willow Hayes's child. The man used to be quite wealthy, which was why Willow Hayes had gone to such lengths to get into his bed and used manipulative tactics to have a child. She had thought that once the child was born, her dream of marrying into a wealthy family was half fulfilled. But unexpectedly, a financial crisis caused her boyfriend's family company to face bankruptcy instantly. Willow Hayes only returned to the country to find Daniel Hayes after extorting a sum of money from the rich heir using the child and forging a paternity test. I met the child's father. I presented him with a collaborative project. Help me with this, and this project is yours. It's enough to save yourself. So, the day Daniel Hayes came to find me, Willow Hayes and her child were also reunited with their biological father. Not only that, but the child's father, following my instructions, falsely claimed his family had secured an investment and that the company's situation was now stable. Willow Hayes instantly rekindled her dream of marrying into a wealthy family and becoming a young mistress. Shamelessly, she sent Daniel Hayes a message. Daniel, I'm so sorry. It seems there was a problem with the paternity test. Leo might not be your child. I made a mistake. Thank you for all your care. I won't bother you and Miss Lou anymore. She swiftly vacated the house Daniel Hayes had bought for them, taking her child, leaving Daniel Hayes to become an absolute joke. So, when Daniel Hayes stood before me again, he was worn down and looking utterly broken. At this moment, his face was covered in stubble, and his eyes had dark circles from days of not resting well. He staggered a few steps towards me, then saw our daughter playing behind me, and knelt down with a thud. Grace, I was wrong. Please forgive me, okay? I immediately had someone throw him out. So Daniel Hayes knelt outside the family estate's guest wing for 3 days. Those days, a fierce storm was raging. His body, already reduced to a skeletal frame from being worn down, swayed precariously in the wind and rain. Finally, on the 4th morning, he collapsed from a high fever. After all, he was at our doorstep, and it would be unlucky if he died there, so I had the butler call 911. The moment Daniel Hayes was being loaded onto the stretcher, I happened to be leaving with our daughter to announce my assumption of my position at the company. Daniel Hayes struggled desperately, falling awkwardly from the stretcher. He practically crawled to me and Lily, tears in his eyes, mumbling as he clutched my pant leg, Grace, I truly know I was wrong. He showed me the text message Willow Hayes had sent, delighted, as if presenting a treasure. Look, that child isn't mine. We both made a mistake. From now on, I only have Lily, and I only want our family. But I disgustedly shook off his hand, leaned down, and smiled faintly at him. Daniel Hayes, do you know what hurt me the most? Meeting Daniel Hayes's bloodshot, trembling, pleading gaze, I softly dropped a sentence, when my heart was full of joy, and my eyes and mind were solely on you. In your heart, I was never the most definite choice. Before, you wouldn't marry me, saying we were an old married couple and didn't need that piece of paper to prove our feelings. But for Willow Hayes? Why did you get married without hesitation? And that ring, do you remember? You promised me for 6 years, and I waited for 6 years. Before, I thought you couldn't afford it, but it turns out you just didn't want to give it to me. Yet, when it came to Willow Hayes, you bought it without a second thought. Daniel Hayes shook his head, tears in his eyes, and said, I'm sorry, it's not like that. I thought about buying you a ring more than once, but I wanted to buy you a better one, which is why I delayed until now. The one for Willow Hayes was because she said she had never been married and wanted some sense of occasion, even if it was fake. I suddenly laughed, pursing my lips and nodding. Yes, anything she wanted, you never hesitated. But what I wanted was always subject to your calculation and hesitation. Daniel Hayes, stop lying to yourself. From the moment you produced that marriage certificate and announced to everyone that Willow Hayes was your wife, willing to let our daughter and I bear the shame of being called the other woman and an illegitimate child, you had already made your choice in your heart. All your current pain and regret are merely because you discovered Will. Oh, Hayes lied to you. I looked down at him, and my eyes gradually filled with coldness and disdain. Now, even if you came back to beg me, I wouldn't spare you another glance. As Eleanor said, when a woman has money and power, responsibility, and accountability, she will understand. The man you once considered your whole world is nothing special after all. After getting into the car with my daughter, I made a phone call. So the day Daniel Hayes was thrown out, Willow Hayes and her son were also evicted from their home. Her dream of becoming a wealthy young mistress shattered. Willow Hayes could only cry and find Daniel Hayes. Daniel, only you can help me now. Even though Leo isn't your child, based on our past relationship, you wouldn't abandon me, would you? Unfortunately, Daniel Hayes would no longer be fooled by her manipulative tactics. Daniel Hayes was drunk and disheartened. Seeing Willow Hayes, he instantly vented all his rage on her. He savagely gripped Willow Hayes' throat, his bloodshot eyes filled with malice. Tell me, did you know all along that Leo wasn't my son? That paternity test report was completely forged by you. Willow Hayes, still trying to play the innocent role with her manipulative charm, struggled desperately against Daniel Hayes' hand. Daniel, what's wrong? Did Miss Lou say something to you? How could I lie to you? I really didn't know. She tried to sow discord again, but Daniel Hayes roared, interrupting her next words. Willow Hayes, you're still trying to lie to me. Do you take me for a fool? He suddenly used force, and Willow Hayes, caught off guard, crashed into the coffee table behind her. The glass coffee table instantly shattered, and she was covered in blood, trembling with a pale face. Daniel Hayes scoffed, his face contorted. I was such a fool. It took me until now to see your true colors. Do you think I don't know what you've been sending, Grace? The pressure in his hand grew, and his eyes grew increasingly sinister. Willow Hayes, I was blind to have ever liked someone like you. But do you know? The person I love now is truly Grace. As he spoke, tears of regret streamed down his face. But now, even if I tore out my heart, Grace wouldn't forgive me. This is all thanks to you, you vile woman. What nerve do you have coming back to me? In his emotional frenzy, Daniel Hayes accidentally strangled Willow Hayes to death. After realizing he had committed murder, Daniel Hayes was initially panicked and afraid, but then, thinking that our daughter and I no longer acknowledged him, he became disheartened and accepted the reality. He then spent 5 days and nights in that room with Willow Hayes' corpse. During that time, Willow Hayes' son, Leo, cried uncontrollably. Because Willow Hayes had taught him well, the young boy knew how to read people's expressions and how to get sick, have a stomach ache, and charm his dad at opportune moments. But this time, he faced not the father who once adored him, but his mother's killer. Young Leo went hungry for 5 days in the room, watching his mother's corpse decompose and stink. He cried, calling out to Daniel Hayes for his father, saying he was hungry and cold, but Daniel Hayes remained unresponsive, coldly pushing him away. When neighbors discovered the stench in the hallway and quickly called the police, Willow Hayes' body was already barely recognizable. And so, Daniel Hayes was arrested. By the time Willow Hayes' child was rescued by the police, they were also barely clinging to life, having been tortured. Since Daniel Hayes was the one legally married to Willow Hayes, and he had been arrested, with the child's biological father refusing to acknowledge paternity, the child ultimately had to be sent to an orphanage. Facing police interrogation, Daniel Hayes remained silent, insisting he wanted to see me and the child one last time. I certainly wouldn't go, nor would I ever let anyone know my daughter had such a treach. Heiress, murderous father. So I quickly changed my daughter's name, registering her with my mother Eleanor's family. In response to the message conveyed by the police, I sent Daniel Hayes only one sentence. as a father, if you can't give your daughter the fatherly love she deserves, at least don't become a lifelong shadow over her. Upon hearing that, Daniel Hayes finally fell silent. He confessed to killing Willow Hayes and even wrote me an apology letter from prison. In the letter, he insisted he had never used me as a substitute, claiming he chose me because he loved me. Unfortunately, he still didn't understand that for the person I am now, whether he loved me or not was utterly irrelevant. Daniel Hayes was sentenced to 20 years in prison. 20 years was enough time for me to forget I ever knew him, and enough for my daughter to forget she ever had him as a father. I tore up the apology letter he wrote, throwing it into the fireplace to turn into ashes. In the courtyard, Agnes, Chloe, and Eleanor were playing with my daughter, Lily, whose laughter, like the ringing of silver bells, filled the air. Agnes again helplessly urged Chloe to quickly find a man and find a partner and have children outside of traditional marriage, in line with family custom. Chloe disdainfully rolled her eyes. Just look at Grace's fate, getting involved with men is a losing game. I still prefer to be free and unburdened. Isn't it wonderful for us, a family of women, to stay together for life? Under the sunlight, my daughter ran into Chloe's arms, giving her a big kiss. Chloe, while playfully wiping the slobber off her face, looked at Agnes and Eleanor, and they all couldn't help but smile. I also let out a sigh of relief and walked towards them. Chloe was right. What did it matter if there were no men? As long as our big family stayed together, that was enough. Why should women stake their lives on men's love and promises? By not confining my focus to romantic love, my life would surely hold even more wonderful possibilities.